Hey, it's James Robert. I just want to let you know what a great time I had hanging out with you in Las Vegas last week at the Financial Brand Forum. I'm here in the Banking on Digital Growth podcast studio and going to take a couple of minutes to talk through what we weren't able to cover during our time in Las Vegas. I appreciate the ability to pivot because after hearing from some of you during the breaks, the common feedback that I was getting was, James Robert, I'm connecting, I'm resonating with what you're sharing. I'm seeing the opportunities that you're seeing, but there's a problem. And when I asked what the problem was always the same. The problem was is we're now going to have to come back and take what we're learning to others on our team. We're going to have to take this back to our leadership team, and we're going to have to get them to see these same opportunities as well. And so that's where we were able to pivot and start focusing on the human transformation that is required for any type of transformation, whether it's digital transformation, marketing transformation, sales transformation. The patterns are all the same. And so we had to put a pause on talking about the fuel of the digital growth engine being content and how you can use artificial intelligence to multiply your content efforts. That's where we're going to come back into our conversation today. But before we get too far into this, Audrey, who is so kind to help produce this video behind the scenes, she also can help you get access to the boot camp that we're doing in collaboration with the Financial Brand Forum. The boot camp kicks off on June 10th, I believe. Let me just double check the calendar on this. I do believe it is June 10th. Yes, it is June 10th. We will kick off. And what the boot camp is, it's a 90-day banking on change boot camp. And it's something that the financial brand approached me on saying, you know what? A lot of people come to our conference, they get fired up, they get excited. And then just like we talked about when we ended our session, now they're going to have to go back and begin to apply their new insights. But the challenges are always the same. It's the human transformation there. And so with the 90-day banking on change boot camp, we're going to be meeting over the course of 90 days, once a month. Each month, I will share some strategic thinking tools with you. You'll also have the ability to connect with peers who are also at the Financial Brand Forum and make those connections. And most importantly, hold each other accountable as you make continued action month after month after month. So if you're interested to join, I would love for you to be part of that experience. Text Audrey 415-579-3002. Text bootcamp to her, and she will get you all of the information and get access when we get started on June 10th. In brief review and quick recap, one of the things I want to start off with, and not just jump straight into content optimization with AI and content amplification, but remember why we're doing this. This is about transforming the growth models at our financial brands, going from thinking about growth as a branch only experience or as a digital only experience to independent schools of thought, bringing them together, unifying them through a perspective that I frame around employee experience plus human experience, which can be multiplied by the digital experience. And that's what leads to growth. So EX plus HX can be multiplied by DX as a path towards growth. And it's not only about bringing these two channels together, it's also about bringing marketing and sales teams together as well. And when we bring our marketing and sales teams together, the way that we can unify our perspective is rethinking the buying journey that we're guiding prospective account holders through, account holders or members through, which traditionally, historically, has been 5 stages. You've had awareness, you've had consideration, you've had purchase, you've had adoption, and you've had advocacy. But one of the ways that we can rethink this is through a more emotive lens, because money is a very emotive subject. And so when we're thinking about the buying journey, these 5 stages, at a deeper level, it's the 5 transformations that people have to go through. There's The awareness stage, yes, but what are we doing? We're having to transform confusion that people feel when entering into the buying journey. We're having to transform confusion into clarity. From there, we can transform clarity into courage, courage into commitment, commitment into confidence, confidence into community. And it's these 5 transformations that I see as one of the biggest opportunities for growth because of the emotive aspect of money. Now, practically speaking, how do we do that? We build a digital growth engine. And once again, a brief review, we talked about this in Vegas. We build a digital growth engine. We have these 4 key gears. You have targeted ads and emails that drive traffic to a website that sells, not a glorified online brochure. And we talked about the 3 different types of conversions that we can focus on there. You have marketing automation that picks up lead generation. And from there, we have the sales and the service enablement. And so from a buying perspective, we're increasing website traffic, we're generating and nurturing leads, and then we're converting those leads into loans and deposits. And that's where we have to measure progress. And we measure progress by turning data into analytics, and most importantly, transforming analytics into insights so that we can continue to prove the value of marketing to others within our organization. But just like every engine needs fuel to run, well, the digital growth engine needs content. Content is the fuel of the digital growth engine, if you will. And there are those 3 calls to action that we had talked about that can guide people through the motive buying journey. And at the top of the funnel, the beginning of the journey, there are clarity CTAs in the awareness stage. And it's the clarity CTAs that help to transform confusion into clarity. We call these buying guides. The buying guides then give way to transitional CTAs. So this is the consideration stage. This is where we transform clarity into courage. And then from there, we have our primary CTAs, which is lower on the journey, almost towards the end, ready to apply. And a lot of times for financial brands, these CTAs are apply, open the account, they go off to the third party. We see 60 to 85, 90% abandonment rate. But as we talked about, these primary CTAs become pre-apps, transitional CTAs become callbacks, clarity CTAs become buying guides. Before we move into the content piece, because what is true internally for human transformation as you're taking the ideas and insights back from the financial brand forum is also true for the financial transformation that you're guiding account holders through, the buying transformations, if you will. And these 4 steps of human transformation start, if you recall, by helping others see things from a different perspective. And that is where education comes into play. That is where content comes into play. That's where curriculum comes into play. But when one sees things differently, the good news is that's going to help them think about things differently. Think about yourself for a moment. You're now back from the financial brand. Before you went to the financial brand to where you're at now, what might you be seeing from a different perspective? What knowledge did you gain that is helping you see things differently? And then if you're seeing things differently, think about how you might be thinking about things differently. And this is the opportunity for you coming back from the forum to help others on your team or throughout your organization go through these same exact steps. Now go outside your organization. Think about prospective members, prospective account holders or members. Where's the opportunity for you to help them see different and then to think different? And then if you recall, I asked the group, well, what happens when you see different? What happens when you think different? What's the next logical step in human transformation? And just like I've done hundreds of times before with teams and with organizations doing workshops, 95% or so, 98% of people will respond. It's a bit of a rhetorical question, James Robert. Of course, I'm going to see different and think different. Well, then I'm going to act different. But that's where we have to pause and ask ourselves, just because one sees different and one thinks different, does that mean that they are going to act different? Does it mean they're going to do different? Does it mean they're going to be different? No, because I'll be the very first one to tell you that there are things in my life that I know personally and professionally that I need to do different. I have the knowledge, but I'm failing to take action for one reason or another. And so to bridge the gap between thought and action comes down to one thing. It's the feeling, it's the emotion, it's the desire to do different, to be different, to act different. Has to be greater than the desire to remain the same in the status quo, to stay stuck in the cave of complacency. And so this is where, if you think about seeing things differently, that's content, podcast, videos, articles, all of which can be then disseminated through social media, that can be disseminated through email. But that's just one step, if you will. If we're going to help people continue to think differently, what's the next level there? It's a little bit of a more deeper subject. It's not just content. That's where curriculum would come into play. And then how do we help people continue to feel different? Because if you think about the desire, the feeling, the emotion to do different, that's motivation. But motivation is like a muscle. Motivation is going to eventually tire and it's going to fail. And we can begin to go back to a previous behavior, consciously or unconsciously, most likely unconsciously. And that's where, if we're thinking about the 4 steps of human transformation, this is where coaching can help bridge this gap. Coaching can be there when the feeling or the motivation begins to fall back to a previous state. Because what we're doing when it comes to marketing, content, is we are influencing the behavior of members, account holders externally, but then we also have the ability to do the same exact thing when it comes to other people on our team, other leaders within our organization. We're helping to influence their behavior as well. But to influence behavior, we have to transform beliefs. And so that all comes back to seeing things differently. So see, think, feel, act is not just an internal transformation activity, whether it's digital transformation, marketing transformation, sales transformation, cultural transformation. This can also be applied externally when it comes to financial transformation as we're guiding people along financial journeys. All of this really comes back to motivation once again. And as we talked about in the afternoon hour, when it comes to motivation and action, we talked about utilizing Kolbe profiles for internal transformation. Kolbe looks at the cognitive part of the mind that in Kathy Kolbe and the work that she's been doing helps us understand how people naturally take action or solve problems. And I know a couple of you shared in our time together that you have done your Kolbe profiles. And so once again, we have some really good resources when it comes to Kolbe and how Kolbe can help you as a marketing leader understand yourself better, but more importantly, or just as important, understand your team and those that you're working with within your organization, how they take action, how they solve problems. The reason I'm also mentioning Kolbe here too is Kolbe looks externally at the modus operandus, or the way that our account holders take action when it comes to their money. They have a financial benchmark as well. All of this comes down to how transformation transpires. All transformation, if you recall, must begin within. It starts with the self, the individual. All transformation starts with you. Because when you transform yourself and others on your team begin to transform, you transform your team, because your team is made up of a bunch of individuals. When you transform your team and teams throughout the organization, that's where you transform the organization together. When you transform the organization, you transform the lives of your account holders. And when you transform the lives of your account holders, that's when you continue to transform your community for good. But a lot of times, transformational initiatives, particularly digital transformation, has trended at the organizational level, driving team transformation, driving individual transformation. And that's where the resistance comes into play. And so, why? And how do we know that? Well, 60 to 85% of all digital transformation initiatives have failed or failed to meet expectations, not because of technology, but because of the human factor. And so, whether we're talking about taking ideas back to our team and influencing perspectives through content, curriculum, coaching internally, or we're looking to influence the behaviors of members, account holders, prospective members, prospective account holders, the model is the same. There's two transformations that have to transpire. We have to transform, number one, we have to transform hearts. And then number two, we have to transform minds. And this is where we have to ask externally, coming back to the role of content, why should I open an account? Why should I open an account or apply for a loan at your financial brand? And because of the way that we're delivering this perspective today, I want you to pause this video right now. And in Loom, you can leave a comment. So before you continue forward, I want you to pause this video and I want you to answer this question. Why should I open an account or apply for a loan at your financial brand? Imagine that you just met me on the street or in an elevator, and we're having quick small talk, and you tell me that you work at a bank or credit union. And then I ask you, well, what's so good about what's different? Why should I open an account or apply for a loan at your bank or credit union? And then what's so different about your organization from other financial brands? And drop a comment below in the Loom video. And I'm just curious to see what we find with those who are continuing their financial brand form learning experience. Now, when other organizations have answered this question, we see some common patterns transpire. And it makes me wonder, it makes me question, might you be guilty of narcissistic marketing and sales like the majority of financial brands that we coach and guide along their digital growth journeys? You might be, and there's a way to model and map this out. Because the question is, well, what is narcissistic marketing and sales to begin with, James Robert? Here's a pattern. There's a financial brand that might have a solution to a problem for a mass market, and this mass market might be called to action to do something. And if you think about the way that you're communicating, and what's the idea of marketing? Once again, what's the goal of marketing? Is to influence. And how do we influence? We influence through communication. So if what you're communicating is what everyone else is communicating, which in financial services, there's a lot of commoditization. There's a lot of commoditized communication that when answering the question of why should I open an account or apply for a loan, it's, well, we have great rates, we have amazing service, and when we have this laundry list of lookalike product features. And so we see the same exact thing when we go in and we secret shop websites with consumers. It's not our perspective, it's the prospective account holders, the prospective members' perspective, that they're seeing the exact same thing and they're asking these hard questions. And so when you look at this model of narcissistic marketing and sales, who is the hero of this narrative? Who is the hero once again? If you look at this, a financial institution might have a solution to a problem for a mass market that might be called to action. In this story archetype, the hero is the financial brand. And that presents a bit of a challenge because when we look at story structure and archetype and narrative format, there can only be two heroes in a story. You have a protagonist, a hero, and you have an antagonist. You have an anti-hero. And if you're communicating through your words and through your content that you're trying to be a hero for people in the communities that you're serving, for your members, for your account holders, might you inadvertently be entering into their narrative as an antagonist? Once again, if I think about website secret shopping studies, one of the most common complaints that we hear from prospective account holders and prospective members on homepages of websites is the rotating banner ad. They're just trying to sell me something. And if that's the perspective that people have, if that's how they feel when they visit the homepage of your website, maybe you are guilty of narcissistic marketing and sales. I think there's another way to look at this, and I want to give you a really practical example to comparison and contrast. I want to look at two different videos here. And the first is this. Let's go back to the 1980s. I actually remember watching this as a kid. We're going to roll clip here.
Duracell batteries can keep all the toys and electronic games in your home running a lot longer. In fact, tests prove that after just a few hours of continuous use, regular carbon batteries wear out. But depending on the toy, Duracell batteries can last up to 6 times longer. So keep your toys and electronic games running longer with Duracell. The copper top battery. No regular battery looks like it or lasts like it.
So here's the question. Who's the hero of this narrative? Who is this story about? It's about Duracell. What do you recall? It's all the facts and the figures, the data. And if this was a financial brand, it would be talking about this is why we're better than the others. Here's our great rate. This is our amazing service. But what are we missing? What are we missing out on if we think that we're the hero? And if we think that we're the hero, and if others within our organizations think that we're the hero in the narratives of others, what are we losing out on? Here's another perspective. I want to flash forward now and show another video.
They told me it couldn't be done, that I was a lost cause. I was picked on and picked last. Coaches didn't know how to talk to me. They gave up on me. Told me I should just quit.
Don't move until I move.
And the last bit is...
They didn't call my name. Told me it was over. But I've been deaf since I was 3, so I didn't listen.
Derek Coleman.
And now I'm here with a lot of fans in the NFL cheering me on, and I can hear them all.
All right. What I want you to do is I want you to pause this video once again, and I want you into the comments of Loom, compare and contrast these two. How did the first video make you feel? How did the second video make you feel? Same exact product, the way that it's communicated, complete opposite ends of the spectrum. In the first video, Duracell is positioned, if you will, as the hero. The video is all about them. In the second video with Derek Coleman, they take a secondary role. They take on the role of the helpful and empathetic guide. Because the story, the narrative is really all about Derek Coleman at this point. And how the battery helped power if you will, Derek Coleman's journey of growth and success and transformation. To me, this is one of the biggest opportunities to transform the way that we perceive ourselves as a financial brand in a commoditized world. Because if we're perceiving ourselves as a hero, we're going to communicate one way. Whereas there's another more important role that we can play on the journeys that our members and prospective members and account holders and prospective account holders are taking. And that is the helpful and empathetic guide. Every hero needs a helpful and an empathetic guide. Think about that for a moment. Every hero needs a helpful and empathetic guide, because without Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker would still be lost on Tatooine. Without Mr. Miyagi, Daniel's son would still be getting beat up by Johnny and the Cobra Kai. Without Gandalf, Frodo would be lost in the Shire. Without Dory, Nemo would still be lost at sea. Guides provide heroes with help, with hope, with inspiration. Guides help heroes find their way, find the path forward to an even bigger, better, and brighter future, to see things differently than what they were able to see before. This is the story of transformation. And a lot of times we talk about financial empowerment, we talk about financial well-being, but what does that even mean? Are we even transforming people's lives? And I'm going to tell you why I'm challenging this point right here, because when we go and we look at the research, 80 to 85% of people in the United States are feeling financially stressed. They're struggling with financial anxiety. Yeah, we might be providing financial education. We might be increasing financial literacy, but how is that content transforming people's beliefs and behavior around money and financial matters? Because if you go back to the 4 steps of human transformation, see different and think different. That's content, that's curriculum. But why is there not a change happening? Maybe because they don't feel different. Or maybe they feel different for a moment, but then they fall back to a previous pattern of behavior and belief. This is where coaching comes into play. And so when you think about coaching, content, curriculum, all of this provides an opportunity for you to rethink how you think about content in the age of AI. And the way that we can rethink this is with a story selling method. The story selling method is something that I've been teaching now for right at a decade. And for the organizations that reframe their perspective of who they are in the journey of others, these are the organizations that provide help, they provide hope, and they inspire some of the greatest transformations with their account holders and prospective account holders and their members. And the story selling method unfolds like this. You have a consumer persona. And that consumer persona has very specific questions or concerns. They meet an empathetic guide. And that guide must first build trust through content. Then the guide offers the hero a solution, calls the persona to action, and ultimately helps the persona, the hero, realize their hopes and dreams. Guess what this is mapped out to? The buying journey. Awareness, consideration, and purchase. And this is the opportunity. Transform confusion into clarity, clarity into courage, courage into commitment. The crux of all of this is that the empathetic guide must first build trust. Because, for example, if Obi-Wan was not able to build trust with Luke, Luke would still be lost. If Mr. Miyagi was not able to build trust with Daniel's son, Daniel will still be getting beat up by the Cobra Kai. How do we build trust in a digital world? Trust comes through content. And previously, it might have been articles. But now in 2024 and beyond, there are other mediums that can make exponentially more positive deposits into the trust fund that sits between a consumer's ears, their mind. This is a trust fund right here. And it can take weeks, months, sometimes even years to make enough deposits into a trust fund to transform a consumer's behavior. But when you're transforming a consumer's behavior, what did you ultimately transform? It was their belief about something. And so, video content, audio content with podcast, that's the tactical piece of this. The thing that we must embrace first and foremost is the perspective and the mindset of the role that we're going to play in the lives of others. And not just you watching this, but others on your team, and more specifically, those throughout your entire organization. Because you might understand this perspective that you have an opportunity to play the role of the helpful and empathetic guide. But if others on your team or throughout your organization still view themselves as a hero, you'll be thinking about the world from two different angles, and you're going to be communicating about things from two different perspectives. And so this is where content becomes the fuel, once again, of your digital growth engine, because content is the key to making positive deposits in different stages of the buying journey. And so to practically do this, I want to just introduce the banking on expertise method and how you can utilize tools like AI to increase your content production output. The banking on expertise method, this is the subject of my third book that I've started to frame out, and I've been teaching this. There are three elements that make up the banking on expertise method. First is content. We talked about content, increasing clarity. Then there is curriculum, and curriculum is the deeper aspects that can help elevate courage and commitment for prospects. But this also can be used to elevate courage and commitment for account holders from a retention standpoint. And then thinking about retention too, how do we continuously build the confidence of our account holders and of our members? Intercoaching. And all three of these elements can be blended together to facilitate community among people who are on a similar journey, whether that's on the consumer side or on the business side of the house. Community can help make connections so that together, as a financial brand, along with our account holders, along with our members, we're co-creating an even bigger, better, and brighter future together. Now, one of the things that I want to do is provide some context into how you can unlock what I call human transformation or human perspective in an age of AI. And I believe, and it's a bit of a contentious subject right now, that the individual brand of a leader or a lender or an advisor has the potential to be as influential, if not even more influential, than that of the corporate brand. I'm seeing this play out with some lenders and leaders that I've had on the podcast, the Banking on Digital Growth podcast. They shared their story. They shared their experience. For example, Patty Asai, she's working in the SMB space, and she has a TikTok following of almost 1 million people. It's a massive amount of reach that provides an opportunity to create a massive amount of influence. But reach is only one part of the equation. There's also the need for resonance. And what I mean by that is to make a connection with another person, It's about transforming the heart. It's about transforming the mind. It's about giving them help. It's about giving them hope. So when it comes to content, particularly through the banking on expertise method, there's a collaboration opportunity here between your marketing team and your sales team, between your marketing team and your leadership team, to unlock their knowledge, to unlock their expertise, and to amplify their expertise, to give them the tools, the framework, but most importantly, to give them the confidence to do so. Because just like historically, we think about centers of influence in the physical world, going to chambers of commerce meeting, doing community events. Community is also now digitally too, even at a local market level. Think about LinkedIn. And LinkedIn doesn't necessarily mean just in the B2B space. You could be a mortgage lender making connections with other people in your local community, but you would need to be contributing to the conversation. And it doesn't always have to be financially related. It's a mix here. But I wanted to give you a banking on expertise method technology stack of tools and technologies that you can utilize to exponentially increase your content production. Because content just doesn't have to come from marketing anymore. Content can come from the knowledge and the expertise of your lenders, of your leaders, and of the advisors that you have within your financial brand, maybe even branch managers for that matter. And so let's briefly break down these content platforms. And I'll just talk through them of how you could utilize these yourselves. First, there's Chat GPT. And the way that I want you to think about this banking on expertise method, content, curriculum, coaching, all wrapped around community, is start with high valued content. And what I mean by high valued content, video leads the way. And a lot of this is going to be conversationally driven because it's the easiest way to help unlock the knowledge and expertise of others. It's just through conversation, it's just through dialogue. And that video conversation, or that conversation captured with video, you can then strip the audio out. You get a podcast. Out of the podcast, you can take that content, that transcript, and turn it into articles, social media posts, emails. But then that video too can also be multiplied into microbits of content. And so Chat GPT is a great starting point when it comes to framing out an interview. So for example, I had a conversation with Guy Kawasaki on the Banking on Digital Growth podcast. And one of the things that I did with Guy in preparation for this conversation is going into Chat GPT and having a dialogue with Chat GPT to frame my interview with Guy. So that whenever I showed up to have the conversation with Guy, it was a much more natural dialogue. I was using it as a bit of research, but also framing for the discussion. We recorded that conversation utilizing a platform called Riverside.fm. Riverside.fm will capture the video, but then provide AI capabilities to leverage that video content in other channels. So think YouTube, LinkedIn, maybe even TikTok. You get a transcript out of that. You can take that transcript into an AI tool called Cast Magic. Cast Magic would then multiply that transcript into other pieces and other types of content. Think articles, social post, titles. It really is truly an exponential, not just way of thinking, but an exponential way of doing. And then there is another platform called Opus Clip. And Opus Clip is an AI that will take long form video content and turn it into clips and turn it into shorts. This gets into and really helps to unlock a time multiplier. when it comes to marketing and content. Content being the fuel, once again, of the digital growth engine. Content being how we increase trust in the age of AI. And the only way that we're going to be able to do this is if we're taking on a role of a helpful and empathetic guide and thinking about content as more than just a marketing activity. Marketing is playing the role of the helpful guide for others within the organization to unlock their knowledge, to unlock their expertise, to unlock their perspective, because it's about influencing. It's about providing people with help, giving people hope. And the banking on expertise method provides a path forward to do this in an effective, repeatable way that over time you just get even better at. It might feel a little bit odd. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it's just like anything. Practice is going to it's not going to make you perfect, but practice is going to propel you forward so that you continue to make progress along your digital growth journey, with content being the fuel of your digital growth engine. As we wrap up, if you have questions, if you need help, drop a question in the comments of this video. We'll keep an eye on them and reply to you. Or if you need specific help for your organization, you can text Audrey HELP to 415-579-3002. I want to give a shout out to Audrey. She's behind the scenes right now, helping to record this video and get this your way. So thank you so much, Audrey. I really appreciate our collaboration and the work that we're doing together to help financial brands, guide them along their own journeys of growth so that they can stop losing loans and deposits and get people in the communities beyond financial stress so that they can get to an even bigger, better, and brighter future. Finally, I just want to thank you for sharing a couple more minutes with me asynchronously to wrap up our financial brand form experience. Once again, I would love to continue to share time with you going forward into the Banking on Change, the 90-day Banking on Change bootcamp that'll be kicking off on June 10th, where we'll keep coming together once a month for 3 months. And I can all but guarantee that you will move forward and make progress. You're going to get the accountability that you need to keep moving forward and making progress. And I say all but guarantee, because at the end of the day, it's up to you to turn your insights into actions. But I want to do everything possible to help you out so that you can have that courage and that commitment to do so that you can help others on your team see, think, and most importantly, feel differently. And then together, you can all do differently. Thank you very much. Y'all be well, do good, and be the light. And we'll see you soon.